Hi, and welcome. I'm Anna the Wolfe, and I'm so glad that you have joined me today on this transformative tale. And in this story, you're walking along a trail through a meadow, and the trail's really more like a footpath ahead of you, and you're just wading through the grass that's about hip high when you come upon, in the next 4 or 5 steps ahead of you, there's a substantial puddle. You're trying to decide whether you're going to try to step off the path and go around into the higher grass to get around the puddle, or if you could possibly jump over it. But it's a pretty big puddle. And as you stand on the edge of it, deciding whether it's worth jumping or going around, you hear some scuttling noises, and you get down on one knee because you're pretty sure the noises were coming from the puddle itself. And that's when you notice it. This puddle is alive. It's been there for probably the better part of a season, and it's got mosquito eater larvae all around the edges, and it's got skating across the top, and some aquatic beetles, and it's got mosquito larvae, plenty of those. And you're just amazed at how much life is supported in one little puddle. But it is late spring and the puddle seems to be receding. You can see where it's been out even further across the trail. And what you're hearing is the occasional shout, "Watch out! Move! Get out of my way! Seriously, get back!" And you look and you notice there's a crawdad down in this puddle. And he's moving around, and every single creature that gets in his path, he takes his pincher and just waves it around like, "Get out of my way! Move on!" And everyone's like, "Whoa, Crawdad, what's up? I thought we were friends. Why are you telling me to get out of the way? This is everyone's puddle, and you don't own the puddle." Crawdad's like, "You know what? You don't either. And I need to get through. I want over to my burrow on the other side." And he's just being kind of reckless and moving through the puddle and just snap, 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 snap. And just kind of firing off little verbal cannons at everybody as he makes his way across the puddle. And you're like, man, I knew crawdads could be a little bit snappy, but this guy seems like everyone is an offense to him. And he got to the other side, and you decided to watch for a while to see how things turned out. So you sat down cross-legged next to the puddle, and nobody really noticed that you were there. And Dragonfly came in and alit right next to the puddle and was just going to have a drink when Crawdad stuck his antenna up from under the water and said, "Did you ask if you could take a sip?" And Dragonfly said, "No, I did not ask if I could take a sip from the puddle. It's the puddle, not your puddle. What's up, friend? You know, we've always spent the last 2 seasons just enjoying this place together." And Crawdad said, "You know what? It seems like this puddle's getting smaller and smaller every day. And just trying to get across it, I have to make room for 5, 10 other creatures just to get across the puddle back over to my burrow. And it's becoming a real hassle trying to navigate this space. And it's smaller and smaller. It's constricting." And Dragonfly said, "You know, you've shed at least 4 or 5 times. You're a much, much larger crawdad than when you first started life in this puddle. Maybe it's not the puddle. It could be that you just need a larger space." And Crawdad was like, "You know what, Dragonfly? I can't make it rain and make this puddle big again." And Dragonfly said, No. You need a whole different water. You need a whole new different body of water because you just don't fit in this puddle anymore, Crawdad. you've become exponentially larger every season. You shed your skin and you come out and you're magnificent and red and you have new claws and you look so great. And there's plenty of resources for you to eat here, but I think you've pretty much eaten your share of all the little creatures, and now it's just the big creatures and everything seems to be annoying you. Have you considered moving to something that might support you better in your new form? Crawdad said, well, I don't know. I don't have the vision that you do, Dragonfly. Your eyes have lenses all over them. I just have these little beady guys down here, and half the time they're covered in mud, and then you can fly all over the place. Have you seen anything that might work for me? And Dragonfly said, yeah, I have. Actually, it's not very far, and I know that you can migrate. Why don't you get on the path and walk for about, I don't know, 50 yards, and you're going to come to a much larger body of water than this puddle. It's a pond, and I think you're going to be really, really happy there. And it's full of everything you need, and no one will get in your way. Why don't you head on out? And everybody in the puddle was like, yeah, go. By all means, I think it's time for you to move on. And Crawdad was like, yeah, I think it's time for all of us to have a new change of scenery. It's mutual, guys. It's mutual. And everyone's like, yeah, Dragonfly. Why don't you lift him up and take him with you? And Dragonfly said, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Oh, buddy, are you feeling better with this hope? And Crawdad said, you know what? I feel like I could fly. I feel amazing. Would you give me a lift over there? Do you think do you have the power in your wings? And Dragonfly said, for you, I will definitely try. And so he came down and he lit and he grabbed onto Crawdad's body and flapped and flapped and flapped. It took everything he had, but he was able to lift Crawdad up. And he flew him down the path, not so much further, but it was a world away. And he dropped him down and then released him, and splash! Down went Crawdad into the pond. And he looked around, and no one was in his way. And everyone he saw greeted him as though he were where he belonged. And it's true, he had grown over the last several seasons, and this space fit him so much better. And he found a new place down amongst the stones, and he kind of pulled them all around and situated himself again. And he was happy. And he wasn't bumping into anyone, and he wasn't saying anything that was hurtful, and no one was saying anything to him that didn't reflect back to him who it was that he felt he was. He didn't feel like he was crabby. Well, crustacean-y. He felt like he was just a new Crawdad. And I thank you so much for joining me today on this transformative tale about the uncomfortable process of growth. And I hope that you'll join me again for the next tale. And I so enjoy our time together and look forward to seeing you again. Thanks. Bye.